You know, one of the questions I've been asked for over 30 years is, why are so many people afraid of chiropractors? And honestly, that's a pretty fair question. Some people are afraid of the adjustment, and some people are afraid of hearing their neck pop. Some people are afraid because their medical doctor told them not to go. Others are afraid because they've just, simply heard that chiropractic isn't scientific or isn't safe, and you may think that right now, but very few people know where those beliefs came from. And that's what I want to talk about today in this video. Not opinions, not theories, but not rumors, but history. So before we get into that history, let's address something else that many people really don't realize. Not all chiropractic care looks the same. In fact, some chiropractors use traditional manual adjustments that may involve a popping or a cracking sound, but others don't. There are chiropractors like us who use instruments. There are chiropractors who use very low force techniques. There are chiropractors who use precision guided methods that involve little to no twisting, popping or cracking at all. And the reality is that chiropractic is not one technique. It's a profession with many different approaches. So when someone tells me they're afraid of getting their neck cracked, my response is usually, who told you that's the only option? Because frankly, it isn't. Many patients in my office are surprised to learn that their care involves a gentle, precise correction without the twisting and or the force that they were expecting. And some of those patients spent years avoiding chiropractic because they assumed every chiropractor practiced the same. Well, that's simply not true. In fact, many of you know that my practice focuses on a specialized upper cervical procedure called Atlas orthogonal. Now, one of the things that attracted me to this techniques decades ago was its precision and its gentleness. Now, most people are surprised when they see it. There's no twisting of the neck. There is no forceful manipulation. There's no dramatic cracking sound. It's a very different experience than what many people imagine when they hear the word chiropractic. And that's exactly why I believe people should understand their options before they decide that chiropractic isn't for them. Now let's talk about why so many people developed those fears in the very first place. You see, back in 1963, the American Medical Association, AMA, created something called the Committee on Quackery. That's a real thing, by the way. The stated objective of that committee, according to documents that later became public, was not to regulate chiropractic. It was not to study chiropractic. It was not to improve chiropractic. The objective of that was to eliminate chiropractic. Now, let that sink in for just a moment. Eliminate an entire healthcare profession. According to court records and internal documents, the AMA worked to discourage medical doctors from associating professionally with chiropractors. They opposed referrals, they opposed collaboration, they opposed hospital privileges, they opposed insurance coverage, and they actively promoted the idea that chiropractors were quacks. Again, those are not my words. Those were documented efforts that later became evidence in federal courts. Now, think about that for a moment. If the largest and the most influential medical association in the country spent years telling doctors, educators, insurers, and the public that chiropractic is dangerous or unscientific, what do you think happens? Those ideas begin to spread. They become accepted. People repeat them. Parents tell their children. Doctors tell their patients. Insurance companies make decisions based on them. And eventually those beliefs become so common that nobody remembers where they came from. They simply assume that they're true. Then something happened. A chiropractor named Chester Wilk decided he had enough. He filed a federal antitrust lawsuit against the AMA. Not a complaint, not a petition, a federal lawsuit. That case worked its way through the courts for years and years and years. And in 1987, federal judge Susan Getzendonner ruled against the AMA. The court found that the AMA had engaged in an unlawful conspiracy to contain and eliminate the chiropractic profession. The judge issued a permanent injunction against the AMA. Again, this isn't chiropractic folklore. This is federal court history. You can look it up. It's public record. Now, before anyone misunderstands me, this is not a criticism of medical doctors. In fact, many of the medical doctors I know are excellent physicians and wonderful people. Most doctors practicing today had nothing to do with any of this. Many have probably never even heard this story. But the point isn't to create division. The point is to understand history. Because history explains a lot. You see, even after the lawsuit was won, something remained. The fear, the suspicion, the stereotypes, the cultural narrative. The Committee on Quackery disappeared. The court case ended, but the public perception had already been planted. And ideas can survive long after the people who created them, long after they're gone. And here's why that matters. When fear is based on misinformation, people often never discover the options that might actually fit them. Now, I've had patients tell me, Dr. Fiorini, I wanted to see a chiropractor for years, but I was terrified of having my neck popped. And then they discover there are gentle approaches, instrument-assisted approaches like we use, upper cervical approaches, methods specifically designed for people who prefer minimal force or need minimal force. And suddenly the thing they feared wasn't actually what they were being offered at all. Today, chiropractic is licensed in all 50 states. Millions of Americans receive chiropractic care every year. The research continues to grow. Hospitals, healthcare systems, military facilities, multidisciplinary clinics increasingly include chiropractors as part of their patient care team. And yet many people still carry concerns that originated decades ago, not because they're personally investigated chiropractic, not because they personally experienced chiropractic, but because they've inherited opinions that were passed down from, frankly, a different era. So what should you do with this information? Simple. Be curious. Ask questions. Look at the evidence. Talk to people who have experienced chiropractic care. Talk to chiropractic doctors. Talk to medical doctors. Do your own homework. Don't let me think for you, and don't let anyone else think for you either. Very, very important in these days. After more than 3 decades in practice, here's what I've learned. People deserve informed choices. People deserve accurate information, and people deserve the opportunity to decide for themselves what healthcare options are right for them. And that's really what this conversation is all about. It's not chiropractic versus medicine. It's not winners and losers, not old battles. It's about truth. It's about patient choice. And frankly, it's about understanding a chapter of healthcare history that most Americans were never taught. Because whether you choose chiropractic care or not, whether you choose Atlas orthogonal care or not, I believe you deserve to know the whole story. And I believe you deserve to know all of your options. Have a great day. And you can look it up. It is the Wilk versus AMA, 1987. Federal court found that the AMA engaged in an unlawful conspiracy to contain and eliminate the chiropractic profession and issued a permanent injunction. Have a great day. I hope they found this to be interesting.